Off in the distance, you make out many different voices, united, rising, and chanting, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, Black lives, they do matter. You attempt to control your emotions, but the more they chant, the more you lose control. And finally, it's just too much. You scream. Don't you all know that all lives matter? Blue lives, they matter too. Shocked by your outburst, the crowd quiets until one lonely voice proclaims that throughout history, Black lives have been valued far less than others. We've been treated as livestock. Children spit on as they entered newly desegregated schools. Billie Holiday explained that strange fruit hung and blossomed from trees. Rodney King videoed beaten in the streets. 2 resumes, exactly the same except for African American name. Only one will be called, but you dare to exclaim that all lives matter? My question is, to who? Police, at the end of their day, remove their uniforms. Blacks, however, cannot remove their color, although many have tried, poisoning themselves with bleach. But as Beyonce says, we wake up like this. But some of us also fall asleep like this, desperate to assimilate, but preconceived notions cover us from head to toe like our entire body has been dusted for fingerprints. Our sons fit the description of what you think of as dangerous, tall with dark skin. But we've taught them, if stopped, to keep their hands on the steering wheel and to always say yes and no, sir. But history has proven that even though these rules are followed, it may not be enough. 1984, my 18-year-old uncle stopped for a traffic violation, taken in alive and brought back to us in pine. The story of just one Black life that did not matter. Can't you understand that the only difference between me and you is the color of our skin? You see, if I scrub and scrub, the skin does peel. Tendons come on display. Can't you see we're all the same? I scrub as I pray, please don't kill our sons. I scrub and scrub down to the glistening white bone. I scrub until I hear my ancestors scream, Black lives do matter. I pray, Mr. Officer, next time you stop a young Black male that fits the description of what you think of as dangerous, please treat him with the same respect you won't afford it to your son. Because that young man might be my child, and I want him to come home safe and sound. And I did try. I scrubbed and scrubbed, but the black, it don't come off. Reality rushes over you. The haze that covered your eyes starts to clear. You turn, running those statements over in your mind, but as you do, your old friend, unconscious bias, taps you on the shoulder and says, they're right. All lives do matter. It's just not your fault that some matter more than others. I can't breathe. I can't breathe has been the death cry of too many of my brothers and sisters. If not because of the boot being placed on their neck, then their lack of oxygenation has come from the stranglehold placed on African American history and the truth of the great impact we've had on all facets of American history. Society has been lulled into believing that the contributions of blacks are minimal. But even after breaking through the physical and mental scars that 400 years of slavery leaves, being given land to only have it stolen and pilfered back in the name of robbery known as sharecropping, living through Jim Crow, then separate but not so equal, redlining, and lastly, outright terrorism and murder. Have you forgotten or never learned of the race massacre that befell Black Wall Street? I can't breathe because blacks have made astonishing bounds that have been relegated to the halls of the obscure, while textbooks feign false adoration for 3 or 4 of our kinfolk. You see, all ethnic groups need to know the positive impact their forefathers had on civilization. Why do you believe that we are any different? Where are our statues? Where are our monuments? I can't breathe because all the while some folks have the audacity to fly the Confederate flag while ranting that they do so because their history and heritage are so important. All the while telling blacks to forget theirs and to move on. How are these two mentalities able to reside on the same timeline, let alone in the same consciousness? I can't breathe because it must be the same way some people find solace in the fact that prior slave owners received reparations due to their loss of slaves. But not one dime of reparations has ever been paid to the black man or woman or their heirs who built this great country on their backs. They only received pain, separation of family, and the harshest neglect as payment for services rendered. I can't breathe because it's so hard for people to understand that separate but equal only ended 66 years ago. And in truth, there was only separate, never equal, because unjust laws engineered to shackle black families into poverty ensured that fact. I can't breathe while thinking of all of the atrocities we've endured, survived, and overcome, all while helping to build a more perfect union. I can't breathe because racial injustice is being compared and pitted against crime in an effort to water down the blood stains left behind by both. But each has a direct correlation to the other. You see, if you attempt to steal the pride, the history, the accomplishments of any population, you will receive a mix of unwanted repercussions. But raise a community up, teaching them of their contributions to civilization, and like any other garden that has been fertilized properly, a great harvest shall be reaped by our country. But if you minimize an entire race and its accomplishments, you will be greeted by a barren wasteland where no one, not even you, can breathe.